Vanguard August portfolio update. I'm going to be going through my stocks and shares ISA and my SIPP with my UK Vanguard account, and also my general investment account with Vanguard Australia. I've not actually logged into either of those accounts in a couple of weeks, and I've not done a portfolio update in a while. I've also got the Ashes on in the background, test number 5. Hopefully we can win it. But yeah, let me just log into the account. I'll show you my screen and you can see exactly what I invest into, how much I've invested, what returns I've been getting, and more. First of all, let's look at my Vanguard UK account. I'm gonna log in now. So the headline value is my portfolio. Vanguard UK portfolio is worth £44,455. Now, most of that money is in my stocks and shares ISA, around 39.6k, with the remainder in my SIPP, my private pension. So to first give you a snapshot of my stocks and shares ISA, you can see I've got 100% of my money in one fund, the FTSE Global All Cap Index Fund Accumulation. My returns are 32.94%. So people get confused with the way Vanguard work out returns. They don't work them out on a straight line of just what you have, and then a return. They do something called an IRR, an internal rate of return. Essentially, all that means is it works out when you bought and then calculates your rate of return, based on your actual buying prices, rather than just saying you've invested 10 grand, you now have 20 grand. It looks at that 10 grand. Did you buy it high, low, and then it sort of works out internal rate of return to then actually calculate your personal rate of return. So that's what that is. Hopefully that makes sense. But essentially, rather than looking at what you contributed and what you now have the market value and just doing a straight line method, it actually looks at when you contributed and how much you contributed and what price you bought the fund at. And it does that for every single purchase, and it gives you your personal rate of return. Now, in terms of my transactions, I've not invested anything in my stocks and shares ISA this tax year since March 2023, so £0, and that's ultimately because I now live in Australia, so I'm not at the moment a tax resident in the UK for this tax year, so I can't use my stocks and shares ISA. So my money is still sitting there and growing, but of course, I can't put any more pounds into it, unfortunately. There's not actually an equivalent to a stocks and shares ISA in Australia, so if you're in the UK, take advantage of this as much as possible. Not only is it a great account, but there's a massive £20,000 limit that's literally impossible to reach unless you make an absolute fortune from the day job. In my stocks and shares ISA, you can see this very handy graph here of where I've been buying over time. Of course, not much recently, but I'll go to 3 years. You can hopefully see a lot of green dots where I've been buying essentially over time, sometimes high, sometimes low. And the thing is, no one knows where the stock market is going to go. So my strategy is just to invest automatically every single month. And as you can see, that's what I've been doing pretty religiously for, if I go to the 5-year graph now, I think it's more, for literally years and years. I bought once there right at the bottom of the COVID dip where the stock market crashed 30%. But that's my stock and shares ISA. Let me show you my SIPP now. I forgot to mention my actual return. So in pound value, I've actually made £3,772. Realistically, not a great return over 4 or 5 years now I've been investing into this. But honestly, the actual return doesn't really bother me, to be honest with you. I'm just trying to get as much invested as possible. And I know compound interest and the long term of patience will do the rest and give me my, hopefully one day, millions in the stock market. In terms of my pension, it's much the same. So I started investing in this in maybe like May 2020, about a year and a half ago maybe. The value is about 4.8k. The gain is £350, so a lot smaller compared to my stocks and shares ISA. I essentially have used my SIPP as a way to extract money from my company, Making Money Simple. But to be honest with you, I've not really made very much money from Making Money Simple in 2023. Whereas I did make a decent amount in 2021 and 2022, and I made videos on how much money I made in those years through Making Money Simple. But this year I made honestly hardly anything, so I've actually stopped contributing to this pension because I'd rather just leave a bit of cash as a buffer in my business bank account just in case I need it for anything, rather than put it into my SIPP. So as you can see, looking at my transactions, I was contributing fairly regularly, but I've not now since February. It is worth saying, in Australia, I do have a pension. It's called a super, and I have one through my employer. So that is my UK Vanguard account. So I'm up to about 45k. I've been using Vanguard for a number of years now, and I'm going to carry on holding those positions, and hopefully, they'll carry on growing throughout the year. And then when I'm back in the UK, I can start contributing to my stocks and shares ISA again and growing that pot quicker. Now, the first time I've shown this on this channel, here's my Vanguard Australia account. So as you can see, I've got $4,212 Australian dollars. So to get back to pounds, you essentially half it and add a little bit. Depends on the FX rate, but that's roughly about £2,200. And I've got some money sitting in cash. Annoyingly, I'm using an ETF where you can only buy in whole units. You can't fractionally invest. So I often have just cash sitting there. But yeah, just the way it goes. So my actual portfolio is made up of one fund only, very much like the FTSE Global All Cap, one global index fund to rule them all. I have one, once again, global ETF in this case, and it's the Vanguard MSCI Index International Shares ETF. Essentially, it was the most diversified global ETF I could find to invest in international shares through Vanguard Australia's platform whilst I'm living in Australia. I then have some cash sitting there. You can see I've got one order pending. I imagine that'll go through in like a day or so. It's the weekend at the moment when I'm recording this, and then I'll have even a bit more money in that ETF, and then obviously less money sitting as cash. I mean, I can show you a little bit about this fund. So the ticker symbol is VGS. It's, yeah, essentially an Australian fund you can invest into. The fee is 0.18%, so it's a very low fee. And Vanguard Australia, generally speaking, has very low fees, even slightly lower than the UK. The return over the 5 years, I mean, it very closely tracks the global stock market. So here are the full details. As you can see, it's a global ETF, invests into 1,500 companies. So it's not actually as diversified as the FTSE Global All Cap, unfortunately. I could not find a similar version. If you know of one on Vanguard Australia, please let me know. But this was just the lowest fee, most diversified global fund I could find on the platform. And yeah, I've got 4.2k in Aussie dollars on this platform. I've been investing $500 every 2 weeks. So I've actually reduced my investments a little bit compared to what I was doing in the UK. In the UK, I was doing about $650 a month into my stocks and shares ISA, whereas here I'm doing about $500 a month into my general investment account. Mainly just a bit more money that I have in my disposable income just to spend on like nights out, eating out, traveling, whatever it is. Just, yeah, personal decision and approach I've taken just whilst I'm living over here. But yeah, that essentially wraps up my investment sort of Vanguard update. So I guess in total, I've got about £48,000 across Vanguard. Of course, most of that is still in my stocks and shares ISA, which is slowly growing away in the background and compounding for me, as well as my SIPP. I've now obviously activated my Vanguard Australia general investment account, which I'm putting money into every 2 weeks, and hopefully I can grow that pot into maybe like a 5-figure sum by the end of the year. If I carry on investing $500 every 2 weeks, and if it grows a little bit as well, hopefully the market returns are kind to us. But thank you very much for watching. Yeah, any comments or feedback, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.